If you were here Easter Sunday morning, and if you were here in January where I began to talk about really the spiritual state of our country and what's going on in the life of our country, and the fact that even on Easter Sunday morning I shared with you, as we have talked about, that if you look, the recent surveys of the number of atheists and agnostics that are on the increase here in our country, they have some common denominators. One, they're young. Two, they're educated. All right. And number three, predominantly they are guys. They are male, not the mail that comes to your mailbox, but M-A-L-E, male. And I have been challenging our deacon, and we've been praying as deacons and church leadership and our staff, what can we do to connect with that younger generation? What can we do to connect with our high school kids and our college kids and those young couples and really get folks back interested? Right at Easter, after I'd preached that message, we got word, if you probably heard about it as well, the villages of Fairview over there, behind the restaurants in the villages, had 4 lighted sand volleyball courts that the developer now decided what a developer should decide. It's time for me to build something there. And that will produce revenue and you can't blame the developer at all for that. Although he was one being thrown under the bus. That's why you buy a piece of property, so you can build something. And all those restaurants around there are happy to have 160 hotel rooms filled with guests who are going to eat. So you can't blame them. But it turned into a big deal. We encouraged our sports minister to give the developer a call. The developer basically said this. He said, I will give you everything for free. The lights, the nets, the benches, the sand, everything for free. Your commitment is you have to promise to build it, because his desire was for it to stay in the community. So we began to talk to some people in the city, and they said, listen, we would love to come along. So we're involved in a partnership with not just our church, but the community as well. And here is what we have committed to do. We have committed to rebuild those volleyball courts right out here. We're going to put them right outside. You can see where the design is. If you want to notice, basically, if you walk outside the worship center right there, you have that big green grass area inside the loop. That is where we're going to put these 4 sand volleyball courts. They're going to be lit. They're going to be open for the community. Everybody can come for free. Push a button, lights come on, play all the sand volleyball you want. That is a great thing. Now, here's where it gets sticky, all right, for us as if we were to do that on our own, it would be well over $200,000, because when I initially committed and said, man, we'll do it, we're going to do it, here's what I thought. I thought, hey, how expensive could it be, right? You're just putting up some 2x4s, dumping some sand out there and sticking some poles up, kind of like, it can't be that expensive. Well, there's a thing called the City of Allen. Are y'all familiar with them? They say if you dig a hole, you've got to send that water. You've got to mitigate the water. You've got to engineer your plat. You've got to make sure you got a photo study where your lights don't cast on the other neighbors. There's a lot of things that have gone into it. So this project has developed a little more of a life of its own. Okay, here's the life of its own. It's going from what I hoped was a smaller project to it's really $80,000 for us to get that to be there. Okay, now that sounds bad news, but let me tell you, it'd be well over $200,000 if it cost us. We have created some corporate sponsorships. We've already got, and I can't share with you all, we already have a number of businesses in Collin County that are going to come alongside us. We're looking to raise about half outside the church and half inside the church, and people are excited about it. Now, for us as a congregation, let me speak to a number of groups of people in here. If you have children, 5th grade and below, I've talked to Dave in the children's ministry. They're ecstatic about having this volleyball court as a part of Vacation Bible School and ongoing children's programs. If you've got kids, if you've got middle school and high schoolers, I've talked to the middle school and high school ministers, and they are ecstatic. As a matter of fact, when we begin to see the cost, we thought about shrinking the courts down and maybe doing 3 courts or 2 courts. They said, Pastor, please don't. We want almost every night of the week, we want 2 courts for middle school, we want 2 courts for high school kids. If you're like us and you've got college kids, And that's when we lose kids. They begin to drift in high school. We lose them in college. If you want your college kids, when they come home from college, to be in the right place, in a safe place at a time, having a blast and having a fun, you need to be a part of this project. If you're a young married or a young single, our college age people have said, man, we've got to do this, Pastor. So my invitation to you is, let's raise the funds. Here's where you can help in one of two ways. Number one is you can contribute personally. And if you look, some of the parameters are there. You can help personally. My wife is right down here, and you know we have 4 kids total. We have 2 college kids. We give above and beyond all the time. Last week was Compassion Week. We sponsor Compassion Child. We're always about giving, but I believe, if a church is going to be relevant and continue to reach people, especially this young generation that has given up on the faith of the gospel, we've got to do things to connect with them. We've got to do things to connect with them. And so I'll just tell you, we as a family, we're putting our money where our mouth is. Above and beyond all of our brokenness, we're going to give $1,000 to this project, just to this project. So I'm not asking you to do something I'm not already saying somehow, some way we're going to figure it out. Because I believe this could be the connection to the next generation of our church. If you're a senior adult here and you cannot fathom in your mind ever one time stepping on those sand volleyball courts, it's okay, be honest. How many of you are that way? But you can fathom in your mind reaching the next generation of this church. I want to encourage you to be a part of it. Give above and beyond. Right in the memo section, this goes for, you can call them whatever you want to. You can call them the beach courts, the sand volleyball beach courts, the whatever you want to call them. I don't care what. Just write it in the memo, give it online, but contribute more. Give something extra. Second way you can help us. I've told you that we've already made connections with business leaders. There's some restaurants that are involved, some other business leaders or real estate organizations that's already stepped up. You're going to hear more about those in the future. They just haven't set the final number. If you own a business or if you know some businesses that you can connect with, that they can be a part of this project, I want to encourage you to do it. This is a citywide, a Collin County-wide community project. It's going to be open for the community. We're not going to charge anyone a dime to play here, okay? We're actually going to have a board that says these are the people that sponsored it. So we're going to give back the businesses that helped make this happen. We're going to promote them. We're going to tell them we're glad that you made this happen. Thanks for making it happen. So if you know someone you can connect with, I want to encourage you to do this and go communicate. Call someone you know. Maybe you want to give out of your business so you are considered a sponsor. You see different levels there. My belief is, I'll just tell you, I'm always committing my staff to things that they don't think it can do, but that's what our hope is, our prayer. If we can get through the design process and the permitting process, we're hoping that come Memorial Day weekend, we can open these courts. And it's going to be awesome. And I will tell you, your kids coming home from college, they're going to thank us. It's going to be a neat thing. Over 3,000 people signed a petition against closing the Fairview volleyball courts. Fairview Village, Cottonwood, let's step up and reopen them. So our kids, our middle schoolers, our high schoolers, our young children will have a safe place to be, in the right place and the right situation that ultimately will allow us to communicate the gospel to a new generation. A new generation. So that's my pastor appeal to you today. Let's do it.